Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3 just got its first gameplay trailer and its first ever main gameplay showcase, and in both of these we can actually see lots of customization options for all the races that make an appearance in this trailer. And I'm going to start the video really strong by saying, yes guys, you can change the size of your boobs now in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. Hello everyone, it's me again, Steve Doja here, back to more Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3, and this time we're talking about the customization. The trailers actually show lots of customization, whether from clothes to races and etc, but I'm going to start with races because that's the most important one, then we'll get down to clothes and the other smaller minor customization options. Now I want to first talk about body type customization because it's actually a really big deal that multiple characters in this trailer have either different body types that we've never been able to access in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 or 2, or body types that didn't even make an appearance in those games. A good example is that there are multiple human beings in this game who are quite thicker than they usually look, and like there's some big chunky boys, all right? And we also have built guys like the person hanging out with Lilica, because there are multiple different body types in this game. Obviously there's going to be even more when they show even more of the gameplay stuff, but when it comes to just customizing even just human only looking characters, we now have like big tall macho physiques, and now we got like even like fat guy physiques, which I think is really cool because more gameplay diversity, more build diversity. You know, this will also probably affect the stats of the character as well, but it's also going to make custom characters look far more unique than they ever have before. There are probably a ton of people out there that want to make their character look even more macho than normal, or even people who just want to have a fat looking character around, and that's completely fine. It shouldn't just be locked to male margins. And speaking of male margins, you can actually see one right here in the gameplay trailer, and he looks slim. Now I'm not saying he looks like slim boob by any means, alright, but it's nice actually that male margins aren't just only going to be super duper fat now. You can actually make them look slim as well, so that shows the level of customization that they are willing to go to with this game. We got big humans and we got smaller margins. Now, before we go into new races, I actually want to address something really important with the new hairstyles and the Saiyan customization. We already know we're getting new hairs in this game, and you can actually, a great example of it when they show Tap. Tap obviously is a Saiyan with his own Saiyan tail and his own unique hairstyle. But one thing that's very important to note out is that the characters next to him also again do confirm that the different body types do exist, because we have a much bigger looking guy next to him. But also, the pompadours of the other Saiyans next to him do just have different models. So obviously Tap's hair model is unique, but that does show that these guys are basically just custom characters being repurposed into Tap's gang, which is obviously how Xenoverse does these characters in the overworld. Meaning that yes, we do have pompadours and other much crazier hairstyles that we're going to see in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. But one thing that's also important to know is that these guys have Saiyan tails as well. Now it'd be really weird to do this if they didn't move, or if they didn't weren't a part of Saiyan customization. I think it's very important to point out, because Xenoverse NPCs for the most part usually don't have accessories, and when they do, it's never anything like a Saiyan tail because it wouldn't move. But these guys have Saiyan tails, and you can actually see the Saiyan tail is textured completely differently from Tap's. Tap has a much darker looking color scheme on his Saiyan tail, and these guys have much lighter looking color scheme, so it's not even the same model. They made a separate model for custom characters, and then obviously one for the special NPCs like Tap, and all these other characters are going to have, like, you know, unique special NPC features. So it's very important to note that yes, not only do Saiyans have crazier hairstyles, and those hairstyles are all going to spike up or do some other ridiculous thing when you go Super Saiyan, but we have Saiyan tails in the game as part of a customization. So yes, most likely they do move. Congratulations guys, it took a while, but we finally have moving Saiyan tails in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. Holy God. Now I want to talk about Rom really quick, because Rom is obviously the new unique glint looking character we see in the trailer, and obviously she, you know, basically confirms or deconfirms if we're going to be able to play as glints or demons in this game. Because if you guys remember, based on Dragon Ball Daimo's lore, the difference between margins, demons, and glints is all basically like negligible. They're all just part of the same species essentially, so even the margin race might get redone or have insane customization options when we actually get to open the game and see what's in there for margins. But for now, I'm gonna just call Rom a glint, because obviously again she looks like a Kaioshin, aka a demon. They have all similar designs. Even Namekians would fall under this category. But something that's really important to notice with Rom is that obviously she's a glint, she's a special character, a special NPC, so again any features that are on her might not obviously be available for the rest of us. One thing I will say though, her outfit looks very margin. There are two things of her outfit that I want to talk about. Her outfit looks very margin. Margin custom characters have similar color schemes and weird other things on their attire that she has. Even all the big hearts and the focus on the love hearts and stuff like that. that. Margins have had that on their design a lot, so it's safe to say that this is an outfit we can actually wear in the game. But her outfit is probably the biggest tell that she's going to be a somewhat playable race. Again, Margins have had this weird kind of heart color scheme on their outfits before, and the tech suits are something that we see a lot of people wear in this setting. You can even see that Tap has one. He's got a blue one, she has a green one. So maybe the tech suit part specifically might only be for special NPCs, because again, we see 2 special NPCs with the unique like LEDs going through their suits. But for the most part, Tap is a Saiyan, and she's another race. Most likely Glins, and Dragon Ball Daima didn't do all of that lore and all that explanation or all of that yap just to not introduce Glins as a species in the setting. And now that we have confirmation that not all Supreme Kais have to be special, that makes it available as a race, because they're no longer just a unique special thing that can only ever be Supreme Kais and nothing else. Now they're a much broader race, which is Glins, which also accompanies demons, by the way, because I do want to remind you guys, in Super Dragon Ball Heroes, you could play as both Supreme Kais and demons. But now that the lore has them be the same race, obviously when you make them in the same game that's happening in the same era, the same timeline, Dragon Ball Online, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, all of these games take place in the far future. Now we finally have demons and Kaioshins as one race, and they can be playable in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 3. And speaking of races that were playable in Super Dragon Ball Heroes that we can obviously now also play in another far future game, androids, there is literally zero evidence that androids are playable in this trailer. And the main problem is, would you even know if an android is an android unless if you were actually playing them? They just look like human beings. So I'm not sure about android customization yet, all right? The most I'll say about android customization is that maybe it'll be in the full game. I'm going to say for now, though, androids are probably their own separate race because, again, just like in Super Dragon Ball Heroes, they were their own separate race, even though they look like people, because they had their own separate transformation lines and other weird stuff that they could do, which obviously it would be weird to kind of just slap all of that on top of human beings as well. So I'm going to say androids are their own separate race as well. This gives me a quick chance to talk about the clothes really quick. Clothes customization is obviously just way better looking than it has before. Even when it comes to stuff like the starting outfits between just John and Jane 1000, they both look really, really cool. And when he's walking around the city, you can see that a bunch of other NPCs are wearing new outfits, new clothing with new art style, because obviously, again, far future game, Age 1000, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, it's gonna have a similar design to some of the stuff that you see in the far future setting timelines, but it will obviously still have DBZ era stuff like Xenoverse 1 and DBS era stuff like Xenoverse 2, so don't be afraid. We're obviously still gonna have most of our outfits from Xenoverse 1 and 2, and in Xenoverse 3 we'll obviously introduce even more because, you know, it goes with the setting. Another thing to mention of customization is that not only can we obviously customize our characters, but it seems like we could customize many aspects of this game, such as the intro poses when you start a mission. Now, obviously, again, this is heavily inspired by Dragon Ball The Breakers, because in Dragon Ball The Breakers, you could also do this where you could customize your characters' intro poses and their victory poses. Xenoverse 2's Cross Versus mode has something similar to this, but it's nowhere near as in-depth, so I'm using Breakers as the example instead. And again, spoiler alert, Breakers was the original Xenoverse 3, yada yada yada. Soul Change is obviously also a part of customization. Now, the only difference is that Soul Change actually takes up your Awoken skill slot, so it's safe to say it's not going to get used very much. But speaking of Awoken skills, I actually wanted to mention that since obviously the Super Saiyan Awoken skill, at least for SSJ1, references Vegeta's transformation against DBS Broly, where the hair goes green for a bit, and then obviously it references Namek Goku's, you know, pose as well when you reach the form. It makes me wonder if the other Super Saiyan form is also going to reflect changes like this. A good example is for Super Saiyan 2, we're going to see the red line appear behind the person's head, or is it going to be more simple like Goku and Vegeta's version of Super Saiyan 2? And for Super Saiyan 3, we're obviously going to get the Buu Saga reference, and even possibly if they end up adding Super Saiyan 4, we could get the Daima reference where the character rips and throws their top off to make way for obviously the body model changing into the SSJ4 Daima body model. I mean, this isn't even getting into the fact that the Super Saiyan Blue animation, and let's be real, the Super Saiyan Blue animation, they're 100% probably going to reference the Resurrection F animation where the character glows completely blue and their body crackles up. And with Super Saiyan God, I don't know, there's a lot of really cool ways to interpret Super Saiyan God. Maybe they'll do God Vegeta's version, maybe they'll do God Goku's version, and I do mean from DBS Broly specifically because those are the newest renditions of those transformations. There are just so many unique, awesome ways that they can do, and that's only for Saiyans, man. This isn't even talk about Friezas. If Saiyans get to have the DBS Broly reference, then Friezas 100% get the Tournament of Power Golden Frieza transformation, and that's so fire to think about. I'm really only going to mention the Saiyans and the Friezas here because, again, with Earthlings, it's like we don't know if they'll change their transformation to full power or if they'll keep it as Power Pro. Namekians obviously have the orange form, so that's not too hard to guess, especially because Piccolo makes excellent references for how he turns into both forms, as well as the fact that he only ever transforms into both forms like once. So really, they're not going to get the references from anywhere else other than from the main iconic places that they show up in Dragon Ball Superhero. So nothing to worry about Namekian transformation animations. However, the rest, I don't know if they'll change them or if they'll adjust them. I don't know if if margins are going to keep having a pure form or if they'll get something else. There's really no way to tell, so I'm going to end the Awoken Skills conversation right there. Oh, and I guess since I brought it up earlier, I have to bring it up again. But yeah, it seems like characters will have sliders that completely change aspects of their bodies without affecting their core stats, which is going to be super tight. And also, it does bring up the fact that we can see this in the gameplay showcases because the female margin has significantly bigger boobs than the female human. And you guys could say, well, maybe that's a race-dependent thing. And I don't think so, because female margins and female things, when they wear the same clothes in Xenoverse 1 and 2, they have the exact same proportions. Only some things change with the leggings, admittedly, but it's never been with the chest area. And I think this is important to note. Yes, it's going to sound like Guna speak, but this is important to note, because if you look over to the characters with more masculine bodies, like the male Earthling, Brett, and the Frieza race, they obviously have the male version of the same Great Saiyan squad clothing. And you could see, you could tell it's, you know, obviously styled differently depending on, you know, what gender your character is, because the belt goes to a certain height and level. So it's not like they made a new version entirely for margins. Female margins, I mean, well, this specific female margin probably just has the sliders all the way turned up, let's just say that. So yeah, I think that's actually pretty cool to see, because that might be how we do get the unique body types, such as, you know, again, thicker humans, or again, buffer humans, like the one purple head guy who we saw driving the car in the original Xenoverse 3 reveal trailer, and who's actually hanging out with Lilica during the school section. That might be how we do it. Maybe we can adjust sliders on like arms, chest, legs, etc. And we could do this obviously for both, you know, male and female characters, which would mean yippee-ki-yay, you can get your buffest dudes and your curviest of women. But yeah, I think now that's a pretty solid place to end the video. I do hope you guys enjoyed, and if you enjoyed, then obviously again, please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe, as it greatly supports the channel, and leave a comment down below so what you'd like to see next, fellas. Again, I do love you all. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time, gang. Take care, and peace. Bye-bye.